The recycled air of Nava Station carried the familiar scent of machine oil and cheap synthetic coffee as Marcus Rhodes tightened the last bolt on a malfunctioning maintenance drone. Wiping grease from his calloused hands, he surveyed his cramped workshop tucked away in the station's lower levels, far from the bustle of the main concourse. The distant hum of the station's massive engines provided a constant backdrop to his solitary work. Marcus preferred it this way, alone with his machines, away from prying eyes and uncomfortable questions about his past. 15 years of military service in the Terran Special Forces had left him with skills he'd rather forget and scars both visible and hidden. A sudden commotion outside his workshop drew his attention. Through the scratched viewport, he glimpsed a figure sprinting past, pursued by 2 security officers in their distinctive blue uniforms. What caught his eye wasn't the chase itself, such things weren't uncommon on a frontier station like Navas, but rather the fugitive's appearance. Her skin was a pale lavender, seeming to shimmer with an inner luminescence. Long silver hair streamed behind her as she ran, and even in that brief glimpse, Marcus noted her bearing, too refined for a common criminal, too desperate for a casual visitor. Before he could return to his work, the workshop door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. The alien woman stood there, chest heaving, eyes wide with fear and exhaustion. Up close, Marcus could see the intricate patterns that decorated her skin, swirling designs that marked her as Centaurian nobility. "Please," she gasped, her universal translator rendering her words with a musical lilt. "They're going to kill me." Marcus's hand instinctively moved toward the hidden compartment where he kept his service pistol, old habits dying hard. "Who's trying to kill you?" "The ones who murdered my family. They've followed me across 3 systems." She straightened, trying to compose herself despite her obvious fatigue. "I am Lyra Tval, daughter of House Tval of the Centauri Empire. Or what's left of it." Heavy footsteps in the corridor announced the approach of her pursuers. Marcus had seconds to decide, turn her over to station security, or trust his instincts that had kept him alive through countless combat missions. Behind the power converter, he said quietly, gesturing to a massive piece of machinery. "Don't move." Lyra slipped behind the equipment just as the security officers burst in, weapons drawn. Marcus recognized them instantly, not station security at all, but mercenaries in stolen uniforms. Their movements were too precise, their eyes too predatory. "Maintenance worker," the taller one barked, "we're pursuing a dangerous fugitive. Seen anyone pass through here?" Marcus shrugged, projecting the perfect image of a disinterested station worker. "Lots of people use this corridor as a shortcut. Can't say I pay much attention." The shorter mercenary stepped forward, hand resting on his weapon. "Maybe we should search the place, make sure dash." "That won't be necessary," a new voice interrupted. Captain Jensen stood in the doorway, flanked by actual station security officers. "Especially since you 2 aren't authorized to be here." The fake officers exchanged glances, clearly calculating their odds. Marcus tensed, ready for violence, but the mercenaries chose survival over confrontation. They backed away slowly, then turned and sprinted down the corridor. After them, Jensen ordered his men, before turning to Marcus. "Interesting company you're keeping these days, Rhodes." Marcus met his gaze steadily. "Just fixing drones, sir." "Same as always." Jensen's expression suggested he didn't believe a word of it, but he merely nodded. "Keep it that way. I'd hate to have to explain any incidents to Central Command." After the captain left, Lyra emerged from her hiding place. "Thank you," she said softly. "Though I fear I've only brought trouble to your door." Marcus surprised himself by letting out a small chuckle. "Trouble? Lady, Trouble and I are old friends." He studied her for a moment, noting the exhaustion in her eyes and the way she carried herself, like someone who had been running for far too long. "Those men weren't just random mercenaries, were they?" Lyra shook her head. "They serve Lord Raxus, the usurper who orchestrated the coup that destroyed my house." He won't stop until every legitimate heir to the Centauri throne is eliminated. Marcus sighed, already knowing he would regret his next words. Well, then we better figure out how to stop him first. He extended his hand. Marcus Rhodes, former Terran Special Forces, current mechanic, and apparently your new ally. Lyra took his hand, her grip surprisingly firm. A mechanic with military training? How fortunate for me. Lady, you don't know the half of it. Marcus turned to his workbench, mind already planning their next move. But first, we need to get you somewhere safe. And then you're going to tell me everything about this Lord Raxus and why he's so determined to find you. As they slipped out of the workshop through a maintenance tunnel, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that his quiet life of exile was about to become very complicated indeed. But looking at Lyra's determined expression, he realized he didn't mind as much as he should. Sometimes the universe had a way of pulling you back into the fight, whether you were ready or not. Marcus led Lyra through the maze of maintenance tunnels that honeycombed Nava Station's lower levels. The cramped passages, barely lit by stuttering emergency lights, were known only to the station's repair crews and, he suspected, its more questionable inhabitants. Perfect for keeping a fugitive Centaurian noble out of sight. Watch your head, he warned as they ducked under a tangle of coolant pipes. The air grew colder as they descended deeper into the station's industrial heart. My private quarters are just ahead. Not exactly royal accommodations, but they're secure. I've spent the last 3 months sleeping in cargo holds and abandoned mining outposts, Lyra replied, her voice steady despite their brisk pace. Anything with actual walls will feel like luxury. They reached a heavy door marked with maintenance codes. Marcus pressed his palm to the scanner, and the door slid open to reveal a modest but well-organized living space. Tools and spare parts shared shelf space with military-grade equipment that definitely wasn't standard issue for a station mechanic. Make yourself comfortable, Marcus said, activating security protocols that would alert him to any approaching visitors. Now, about Lord Raxus. Lyra sank into a worn chair, her composed facade cracking slightly. It began 6 standard months ago. My father, High Chancellor Tval, had uncovered evidence of corruption within the Imperial Council. Raxus and his allies had been secretly selling weapons technology to the Krell Dominion. The Krell? Marcus's expression darkened. He'd fought against their bioengineered horrors during the border wars. That's high treason under Centaurian law. Exactly. But before my father could present his evidence to the Emperor, Raxus struck. The attack came during the Night of Falling Stars festival. Lyra's voice caught. They made it look like an accident, a malfunction in our estate's atmospheric shields. My father, mother, and younger brother were killed instantly. I only survived because I was off-world, attending a diplomatic function. Marcus processed this information, his tactical mind already identifying patterns. But Raxus couldn't be sure you hadn't seen the evidence. That's why he's hunting you. Not just that. Lyra's eyes met his, fierce despite her exhaustion. Under Centaurian law, I'm now the legitimate heir to House Tval. Our house controls key military installations along the Empire's outer rim. With me dead, those would fall under Imperial Council control, under Raxus's control. A soft chime interrupted them. Marcus checked his security feed and swore quietly. We've got company. Station security, real ones this time. Captain Jensen's with them. How did they find us so quickly? They didn't, Marcus replied, grabbing a hidden weapon case from behind a false panel. They're here for me. Monthly welfare check, to make sure the dangerous ex-soldier is behaving himself. He handed Lyra a sleek pistol. Know how to use one of these? She checked the power cell with practiced ease. House Tval's daughters learn more than just court etiquette. A pounding at the door. Rhodes. Open up for inspection. Marcus positioned himself strategically, nodding to Lyra to take cover. Captain Jensen, he called out. Bit early for this month's visit, isn't it? There's been a security breach. Multiple unauthorized personnel using fake credentials. We're checking all residents. Give me a moment to make myself decent. Marcus lowered his voice. Something's wrong. Jensen never brings a full team for these inspections. Lyra tensed. You think they're more of Raxus's men? One way to find out. Marcus touched a hidden panel, activating a scanner he'd installed in his doorframe. The results made him curse. Energy signatures from their weapons don't match station security issue. These are military-grade weapons with dampeners. Assassins, Lyra whispered. Roads. The pounding grew more insistent. Final warning. Marcus's mind raced through options. They were cornered, outgunned, and running out of time. But he'd faced worse odds during his military days. How much do you trust me? He asked Lyra. You've risked your life to protect a stranger. I'd say you've earned some trust. He grinned. Good. Because this is going to get interesting. He moved to his workbench and grabbed what looked like a standard repair drone. When I give the signal, shoot out the main light panel. And try to keep up. The door exploded inward in a shower of sparks and metal. As fake security officers poured in, Marcus activated the drone. It erupted in a blinding flash, accompanied by a high-pitched sonic pulse that sent the attackers reeling. Lyra's shot plunged the room into darkness. What followed was a brutal dance of violence. Marcus moved with lethal efficiency, years of special forces training taking over. In the chaos and darkness, he was a ghost, disarming and disabling attackers before they could bring their weapons to bear. Lyra proved equally capable, her shots precise and devastating. When emergency lights finally flickered on, 6 unconscious bodies lay scattered across the floor. Marcus quickly secured them, collecting weapons and identification chips. These aren't regular mercenaries, he said, examining their gear. This is top-tier military equipment. Raxus must have serious backing. The question is, what do we do now? Lyra asked, reloading her weapon. We can't stay on the station. Raxus will just send more hunters. Marcus checked the unconscious men's comms. They have a ship docked in Bay 7. High-end stealth cruiser, perfect for our needs. You want to steal their ship? Lyra raised an eyebrow. That's rather bold. Bold is staying alive and everyone wants you dead. Marcus began gathering essential supplies. Besides, it's time we took the fight to Raxus. You said your father had evidence of his treason? Yes, but it's hidden in our estate on Centauri Prime. Walking into the heart of the Empire would be suicide. Marcus shouldered his pack, a dangerous glint in his eyes. Maybe. But I've always been good at impossible missions. And you, Your Highness, seem pretty handy in a fight. Lyra's lips curved in a predatory smile. When do we leave? Right now. But first. Marcus activated a series of charges he'd placed throughout his quarters years ago, just in case. Let's leave our friends a proper goodbye. As they raced toward the docking bay, the explosion behind them sent shockwaves through the station. Their quiet lives were gone, replaced by a dangerous mission that would either save an empire or get them killed. But as Marcus glanced at Lyra, seeing the same mix of determination and excitement in her eyes that he felt, he knew he'd made the right choice. The hunt was on, but this time, they were done being the prey. The stolen stealth cruiser sliced through hyperspace, its advanced engines humming with barely contained power. In the cockpit, Marcus studied the ship's systems with growing appreciation. Your friend Raxus doesn't spare any expense. This vessel's got military-grade everything, stealth systems, weapons, shields. He always did believe in using the best tools for the job, Lyra replied from the co-pilot's seat. She'd exchanged her tattered refugee clothes for a sleek flight suit found in the ship stores. Though I doubt he expected those tools to be used against him. Speaking of which, Marcus brought up a holographic display of Centauri Prime. We need a plan. Your family estate will be heavily guarded, assuming Raxus hasn't simply destroyed it. He couldn't, Lyra said with quiet confidence. The estate is protected by ancient laws. Even as a usurper, he must maintain certain appearances. But you're right about the security. The evidence we need is hidden in my father's private vault, deep beneath the main house. Marcus zoomed in on the estate's location. Any chance you know the patrol patterns, security protocols? They've likely changed everything since. Lyra paused, pain flickering across her features. Since the attack. But I know something better, the servants' passages, maintenance tunnels, all the hidden ways my ancestors built into the house. Some aren't even in the official plans. A warning light flashed on the console. Marcus quickly checked the readings. We've got company. Long-range patrol, coming in fast. Imperial ships. Worse. Pirates. Marcus's hands flew over the controls, activating the stealth systems. Looks like the Scarlet Clan. They must have detected our energy signature. Lyra leaned forward, tension visible in her shoulders. The Scarlet Clan. They're supposed to be myths, bogeymen used to scare merchant crews. Oh, they're real enough. Ran into them during my military days. They're not just pirates, they're technological scavengers. This ship would be quite a prize for them. Marcus watched as 3 massive vessels emerged from hyperspace, their blood-red hulls bristling with weapons. Can we outrun them? Maybe. But they've already locked onto our signature. They'd track us right to Centauri Prime. Marcus's expression hardened. We need to deal with them here. There are only 2 of us, Lyra pointed out. Against 3 capital ships. Marcus grinned. Then it's almost fair. He brought up the ship's weapons systems. Those aren't military crews out there. They're bullies used to preying on unarmed merchants. Let's show them what happens when they pick on someone who can fight back. The next few minutes were a ballet of violence in the void. Marcus piloted with impossible skill, using the stealth cruiser's superior maneuverability to dance between enemy fire. Lyra proved to be a natural gunner, her shots precise and devastating. There's a weak spot in their shield configuration, she called out, highlighting a section on the tactical display. Common in older Helion-class vessels. If we can hit it just right. Marcus swung the ship into position. Show me what House Tval's daughters can do. Lyra's shots struck home with surgical precision. The pirate vessel's shields collapsed, followed by a chain reaction that tore through its power core. The explosion lit up space like a newborn star. The remaining pirates, suddenly facing opponents who could both bite and bark, decided discretion was the better part of valor. Their ships turned tail and fled, jumping to hyperspace with undignified haste. As the adrenaline faded, Marcus looked at Lyra with new respect. Not bad for a noble lady. You're not so terrible yourself, for a maintenance worker. Her smile faded as she studied the tactical display. But we have a problem. That battle took us off course and drained significant power. We'll need to stop and recharge before we can reach Centauri Prime. Marcus checked the star charts. There's a mining outpost in the Kid Alpha system. Small, independent. We can dock there, restore power, maybe even pick up some supplies. Is it safe? Nowhere's really safe for us right now. But I know the station master there. Retired military, no love for the Empire or pirates. He'll keep quiet about our presence. Marcus adjusted their course. Besides, we could use the break. Give us time to plan our approach to your estate. As they changed course for Kid Alpha, Lyra grew quiet, lost in thought. Finally, she spoke. Marcus, why are you really helping me? You had a life on Nava Station. Quiet, safe. I've cost you that. Marcus was silent for a long moment, his hands steady on the controls. After the border wars, I tried to disappear. Thought if I fixed enough machines, I could forget the things I'd done, the people I'd lost. But seeing you, hearing about what Raxus did. He shook his head. Sometimes the universe doesn't let you hide. Sometimes it reminds you that there are things worth fighting for. Lyra reached over and touched his arm gently. Thank you. For everything. The moment was interrupted by another alert from the ship's systems. Marcus frowned as he studied the readings. That's odd. Internal sensors are picking up some kind of energy signature in the cargo hold. Something that wasn't there before. Could it be a tracking device? Maybe. Or something worse. Marcus set the ship on autopilot. We better check it out. Raxus's men might have left us a surprise. As they made their way to the cargo hold, weapons drawn, neither of them could shake the feeling that their mission had just become even more complicated. The hunter's game was far from over, and new players were about to enter the field. The cargo hold of the stolen stealth cruiser was dimly lit, shadows dancing between stacked crates and equipment. Marcus took point, his weapon ready as they followed the mysterious energy signature. Lyra covered their rear, her movements silent and precise. There, Marcus whispered, indicating a faint blue glow emanating from behind a stack of supply containers. They approached cautiously, ready for anything. What they found stopped them both in their tracks. A small, crystalline device pulsed with ethereal light, its surface etched with ancient Centaurian symbols. Lyra gasped. That's impossible. That's a royal memory crystal. They were all destroyed during the Great Purge, centuries ago. Care to explain for those of us who didn't study Centaurian history? Marcus kept his weapon trained on the crystal, not trusting its innocent appearance. They were data storage devices, created using technology we've long since lost. Each crystal could hold the entire knowledge of a generation. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes wide. This one bears my father's personal seal. Your father hid this here? On a ship belonging to Raxus's assassins? No. Lyra's voice grew distant as realization dawned. He must have known. Known what Raxus was planning. This wasn't just a random ship we stole, he meant for me to find it. Before Marcus could respond, the crystal pulsed brighter. A holographic image flickered to life, the dignified figure of High Chancellor Tval, Lyra's father. My daughter, the recording began, if you're seeing this, then my worst fears have come to pass. Raxus's betrayal goes far deeper than weapons sales to the Krell. He serves an ancient power, one that has waited centuries to reclaim our empire. Marcus and Lyra exchanged glances as the message continued. The evidence you seek is not just proof of treason. Hidden in our vault are records of a terrible truth, the Dark Fleet, a force of ships and warriors placed in suspended animation during the Great Purge. Raxus plans to awaken them, to restore what he calls the true empire. Lyra's face had gone pale. The Dark Fleet, it's supposed to be a myth, a cautionary tale about the Empire's bloody past. The coordinates are encoded in this crystal, Tval's image continued. But daughter, be warned, the vault also contains the key to awakening the fleet. It must not fall into Raxus's hands. If you cannot secure it, you must destroy it. The Empire as we know it may fall, but better that than the return of the ancient horror. The message flickered out, leaving them in stunned silence. Well, Marcus said finally, that complicates things. A violent shudder ran through the ship, throwing them both off balance. Emergency alerts blared. We've got multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, Lyra reported, checking her portable scanner. Imperial signatures. Heavy cruisers. They raced back to the cockpit. The tactical display showed 5 warships surrounding them, their weapons charged. They must have been waiting, knowing we'd have to stop to recharge, Marcus growled, jumping into the pilot's seat. We're running on auxiliary power. We can't fight, can't run. The comm system crackled to life. A cold, aristocratic voice filled the cockpit. Lady Tval. Commander Rhodes. This is Lord Raxus. I must commend you on your resourcefulness, but your little adventure ends here. How does he know who I am? Marcus demanded. Oh, I know all about you, Commander, Raxus continued. Your service record is quite impressive. The legendary ghost of the border wars. I could use someone of your talents. Not interested in working for traitors, Marcus shot back, his mind racing through options. Pity. Know that I take no pleasure in this. You're both worthy opponents. But I cannot allow you to interfere with what must be done. The dark heart of Empire must beat again. Lyra gripped Marcus's arm. The mining station, could we make it? Not before they blow us out of the sky. His eyes darted to the crystal they'd brought from the cargo hold. Unless. Your father's message mentioned coordinates, Marcus said quietly. Any chance there for more than just the vault? Understanding dawned in Lyra's eyes. She snatched up the crystal, interfacing it with the ship's navigation system. Father, please don't fail us now. Your response time has expired, Raxus declared. Open fire. Energy beams lanced out from the Imperial cruisers just as Lyra shouted in triumph. New coordinates appeared in the NAV system, coordinates that made no sense, pointing to empty space. Hold on. Marcus engaged the engines, pushing them to full power. The ship screamed in protest as enemy fire scraped their failing shields. They hit the coordinates exactly as their shields collapsed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to tear open, revealing a swirling portal of impossible colors. A hidden hyperspace gate, Lyra breathed. From the old empire. Can we trust it? Do we have a choice? Marcus grinned despite their desperate situation. Good point. He punched the engines, and their ship plunged into the ancient portal. The last thing they heard before reality twisted around them was Raxus's howl of rage. Then they were falling through space and time, the crystal pulsing in harmony with their descent into the unknown. As the portal closed behind them, Marcus and Lyra shared a look of equal parts relief and apprehension. They had escaped immediate death, but they were now headed into territory uncharted for centuries, with enemies behind and unknown dangers ahead. And somewhere in the darkness, the Dark Fleet waited to be awakened. The ancient hyperspace gate spat them out into a region of space unmarked on any modern star chart. Their stolen ship systems struggled to make sense of their surroundings, a massive debris field surrounding a dying red giant star. By the ancestors, Lyra whispered, staring at the tactical display. These aren't just random wrecks. This is the Lost Fleet, ships from the Great Purge, perfectly preserved in the star's temporal field. Marcus piloted them carefully through the graveyard of ancient vessels. Your father's coordinates, they're leading us to something specific in this mess. Yes. Lyra's fingers danced over the crystal's surface. There, that structure. It's a command and control center, built into an asteroid. The facility was a marvel of ancient engineering, its architecture both beautiful and alien compared to modern Centaurian design. They docked carefully, the ship's systems interfacing with surprisingly active port controls. Atmospheric containment holding, Marcus reported, checking readings. Power systems functional. Someone's been maintaining this place. Or something, Lyra added grimly. They armed themselves before leaving the ship, moving cautiously through corridors that seemed to pulse with faint bioluminescence. The command center's main hall took their breath away. Huge windows looked out over the debris field, while countless status displays showed information about the dormant ships. But what drew their attention was the central platform, where a familiar figure waited. Father? Lyra's voice cracked. High Chancellor Tval smiled sadly. Not exactly, my dear. This is a quantum consciousness imprint, a copy of my mind and memories, created to guide whoever found this place. I had hoped it would be you. The Dark Fleet, Marcus interrupted, ever practical. Raxus wants to wake it. Why? What's so special about these old ships? Not just ships, the imprint replied. The Dark Fleet was our Empire's greatest shame, a force of genetically engineered warriors and living weapons, created to ensure Centaurian dominance. When their creators lost control, the resulting war nearly destroyed our civilization. They were finally stopped, placed in suspended animation, hidden away as a warning to future generations. Lyra stepped forward. But Raxus thinks he can control them? Raxus is a fool who sees only the power, not the price. Tval's image flickered. The vault in our estate contains a key, a genetic template that could awaken and command the fleet. He believes it will make him emperor, but it will only unleash horror upon the galaxy. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Multiple ships incoming, Marcus reported, checking sensors. Imperial signatures. Raxus found us. How? Lyra demanded. The gate's activation must have sent out a signal, Marcus realized. One he was waiting for. Tval's imprint nodded gravely. You must make a choice, daughter. The facility's self-destruct sequence can be activated from here. It would destroy everything, the fleet, the knowledge, all of it. Or what? Or you could awaken the fleet yourself. With your royal blood, you might be able to control them, use them to stop Raxus. Lyra's face hardened. No. We can't risk it. The fleet needs to be destroyed. My daughter grows wise, Tval smiled. But Raxus's ships will be here in moments. You'll never escape. Marcus, who had been studying the tactical displays, suddenly grinned. Maybe we can do both. These old ships, they're still powered up, right? Under basic computer control? Yes, the imprint confirmed. Minimal systems only, but that's all we need. Marcus's fingers flew over the controls. We can use them as guided missiles. Program them to ram Raxus's fleet while the self-destruct counts down. They'll be so busy avoiding kamikaze attacks from ghost ships, they won't be able to stop us from escaping. Lyra quickly caught on, adding her own commands. And the explosion will look like it came from the collisions, not a deliberate destruction. Raxus will never know if he missed something in the wreckage. Clever, Tval's imprint approved. But someone will have to remain behind to coordinate the attack pattern. The automated systems aren't sophisticated enough. I'll do it, Marcus said immediately. Get to our ship, Lyra. I'll dash. No. Lyra's voice was firm. I'm staying. This is my heritage, my responsibility. Like hell. I'm not leaving you, dash. Lyra silenced him with a kiss. When they parted, her violet eyes blazed with determination. Together, then. Father, can the attack be coordinated from our ship? The imprint considered, then nodded. Yes, if you take this. He gestured, and a small control module rose from a nearby console. It will let you interface with the fleet systems remotely. They ran for their ship as the first shots from Raxus's fleet lit up space. Marcus piloted while Lyra coordinated their ghost armada. Ancient warships, dead for centuries, moved with newfound purpose. The battle that followed was chaos incarnate. Raxus's modern vessels found themselves trapped in a deadly dance with ships of legend. For every ancient vessel they destroyed, 2 more emerged from the debris field on collision courses. Self-destruct sequence initiated, the facility's computers announced. Detonation in 3 minutes. That's our cue, Marcus said, spinning their ship through the carnage. Hold on. They burst through the Imperial lines just as the first explosions began. Behind them, the facility detonated, taking the Dark Fleet's secrets with it. The shockwave caught several of Raxus's ships, including his flagship. In the aftermath, as they limped toward safe space, Lyra received a transmission from the Imperial capital. Raxus's treachery had been exposed. In the chaos of the battle, the evidence her father had gathered had somehow found its way to every major news network in the Empire. "Did you do that?" she asked Marcus, who looked suspiciously innocent. "Let's just say I had some free time while you were talking to your father's ghost. Seemed a shame to waste a good communication array." Lyra laughed, then grew serious. "It's over. Really over. Raxus is finished, the Dark Fleet is destroyed, but so is my home, my position." Marcus took her hand. "So build something new. Something better." He gestured at the stars stretching out before them. "I hear there's good money in freelance troubleshooting. If you're interested in a partnership." Lyra smiled, squeezing his hand. "A disgraced noble and a retired special forces operator, helping people across the galaxy. Could be interesting." "Never a dull moment," Marcus promised. As their ship cruised into open space, they left behind the ashes of an ancient threat and the remnants of corrupt power. Ahead lay adventure, purpose, and perhaps most surprisingly, love. The galaxy was vast, full of people who needed help and wrongs that needed righting. And they would face it all together.